Welcome back to From Corporate to Cash Flow, where Andrea Cannon and Liz Schwab, two pharmacists navigating the process of building time and financial freedom through real estate lending and investing while working on day jobs. Navigating the journey is difficult, but our podcast guests are experts in showing us how it's done. And today we have Becky Plaza Peace. Becky, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, Becky, we're very excited to get to learn more about you. So to jump right into it here, we would love to hear about what you first started or like what got you into real estate, your journey, and what you're focusing on now.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I really was interested in real estate starting back in like 2016, 2018. My husband had been investing in real estate. And so I was kind of paying attention. And then I jumped all in during COVID because we're working from home. We have a little bit more time freedom because we're not commuting. And so I started reading a lot of different books on real estate. I found Bigger Pockets. I found Pace Morby and Jamil Damji. And so I really started to kind of just kind of explore and investigate what the options were in real estate because I just knew what we were doing. And what we were doing was small residential multifamily, 2 to 4 units. And there's a whole nother world out there that I didn't know about. So that's kind of how I got started. As I've gone along in my journey, I ended up joining the sub two community. My husband ended up joining Gator. I ended up joining Owners Club. And so I've learned a lot about a lot of different asset classes. And so what I'm really focused on today, my husband and I have a land development wholesaling company. And then myself and my two partners, Heather Grizzard and Laura Burbauer, are looking for semi-truck parking facilities and industrial storage across the United States.
Yes, I love when it's something not like, I have a STR, right? So this is perfect because I love asking questions about this. Can you dive like a little bit more into detail about the trucking and like how did you even identify this area? Like, yeah.
It does seem random, right? So at Squat Up Summit in 2025, Pace Morby identified me in front of 3,000 people as the self-storage go-to without telling me that it was going to happen. And I loved it because I jumped in with both feet, focusing on the self-storage. And in learning about self-storage, I discovered this niche of semi-truck parking, which doesn't require a ton of capital to set up. I mean, you really need like flat land, gravel, fencing, lights, cameras, bathroom and shower facilities. And that's about it to get started. And you can make them nicer or, my goal eventually is to have like a franchise across the nation where whether you're going to our stop in California or Georgia, you're getting the same experience. But to get started, the entry barrier is not that high.
Mhm.
And where I live in California is actually considered a semi-truck parking desert, and it happens to be one of the biggest logistical hubs in the United States. So that's really what got me started. Like, oh, this is something I should really look into.
Yeah, and you mentioned, was it like flat land you said, Avi? Did you say
Yeah,
that?
you want it to be
Yeah,
like graded and flat so it doesn't like flood or anything like that. It's easy to get in and out with the big semi trucks
that makes
because they could be
sense.
loaded or they could be empty. So you have to account for both things.
Yeah, and how else do you like determine what your buy box is for this, for the trucking?
So it's kind of based on like how much money the land costs and how many trucks can you fit on the land. A general buy box is at least 10 acres because that usually is enough between nightly rentals and then potentially monthly rentals that you could make a decent profit. I do have two other partners, so we're really focused on like a $5,000 a month net per person is kind of like where we want to be at. And we got really specific like that because you look at a lot of deals, but at the end of the day, you're going to spend the same amount of time running it. So you might as well go for the deals that have more meat on the bone than those that are just going to give you a little bit.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Do you find that this is like an area that's becoming more popular, or do you think it's still pretty like not like laying low compared to some of the other ones?
I would say that there's a few people interested in it, but generally when I tell people I'm interested in it, they're like, what? Why? Like they don't get it. So unless you're in the trucking industry, like I don't think it's something that people think about. So I think it's kind of still like a niche market where you have some opportunities.
Yeah, okay, very cool. And then you currently have I say regular, you have a W-2 job, is that correct?
I do. Yeah, I have a W-2 job. I'm a college counselor and professor at a California community college.
That is so cool. Loki, I actually thought that would be a really cool job to have. Being able to like help guide everyone, right? After you've gone through that whole process. So I bet that's like super meaningful to be able to have an impact on so many
Absolutely.
people.
Honestly, it's part of the reason why I became a counselor is because I did not have that guidance, and I really wanted. I was a first generation, low income college going student who made a ton of mistakes, so I wanted to be able to help people on that path. And that's actually kind of led me into like I have a Mount Everest with my real estate investing too, where I want to help other educators get started in real estate so they can have either better quality of life because they're going to have higher income streams, or if they want to retire early, they'll have that escape route if they need it. So I don't
Yeah.
want to, I joke that I'm a compassionate capitalist because I don't just want to make money to make money. I want to be able to help people at the same time.
Yes. Love that. Love that. Thank you. I think lots of people get bad reps, and some are justified, but we need more people like you. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And then tell me a little bit, like, where did you get the idea to start looking at real estate to make some more of this like passive income, trying to supplement your W-2?
I think so. We got really lucky and we bought into the fourplexes that we own at a great time. And California, the market does appreciate pretty quickly and pretty rapidly. And so typically does the rents. And so I was looking and seeing like, well, my husband is making, X amount of money on this fourplex that he had right before we got married. And I was like, well, I want that too, because then I could retire earlier. I tend to get bored every 10 years with my job. Like you can go back through my career and I've switched lanes like every 10 years or so. And I've been at my current job for 12. So it was about time for me to like start investigating, well, what's next. And I just thought, wow, this is legitimately could be a way with not too many properties, but it could replace my income and I could afford to buy health insurance and put in money for retirement. So it was very attractive that way. And it was something completely different than I've ever done before. And that is pretty much on brand for me. Like when I do switch careers, it's quite different. Like I was in television production before I was in education, for example. So
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, this is awesome because I think that like your current job and what you alluded to before is that you want to be able to help people that maybe didn't have that same experience. And so, I think that these two things like real estate investing and you acting as a counselor go hand in hand because there's so many people that need this like advice and they need that mentorship. And I wish I would have had that a lot earlier on. So I think that this will be such an asset to you to be able to help so many people and just have that background of being able to do it.
Thank you. Yeah, I really see myself as like an educator first, and that's part of the reason why I want to help other educators because I wish I would have known. No one teaches you this stuff in high school, and I wish I would have known it because when I bought my first place to live, it wouldn't have been a condo, it would have been a duplex. Like little things like that would have compounded over my life, and so I want to help people be able to do that in their lives too.
Absolutely. I feel like there's so many times when I look back and I'm like, man, if only somebody had told me about the things that I know now. And like you said, not a condo, but a duplex. But for me, like my example of that was I lived in North Carolina and worked like at the hospital there and early in my pharmacy career. And I rented and it was a good move at the time, but realistically, the properties there, especially right across from the hospital, which is where I was, I could walk to work and I did, but I could also have biked to work and did sometimes do that also. So had I just expanded just a little bit further, those properties were probably, I mean, under $100,000, which
What?
is insane. And I just think back to this and I'm like, oh my gosh, what was I doing? Right. And
Right? If I
oh,
had known better, I would have bought every property I could in like 2009 to 2012.
yes. I mean, even going all the way up to 2020, right? It's like insane how much has like, changed since then, like the
Yeah.
pre-COVID era and everything, right? And yeah, that counseling piece that you have definitely goes hand in hand. And if you're able to guide people not only in their college careers, but also in their other areas, I mean, that's really huge. So thinking about, the trucking, is that a niche of self-storage, or is it like a niche of RV parks, or what is that, where did that fall into? Like,
So technically, it's considered a niche of self storage.
okay.
And there is a gentleman named Troy Bix. He founded the Toy Storage Nation, which I have to say slow because it's a tongue twister. And he's the one that actually gave me the idea. I had asked him, like, if you were just getting started in storage or RV and boat storage today, what would you do? And he was like, I would just start with semi truck parking. And I was like, what is this? Tell me about it. And so he's the one that actually gave me the idea. And what you can do is, because that is something that people have asked me, well, what about when they go to automated trucks and you don't need a truck driver anymore? Well, you're still going to need someplace to store trailers when they're not in use. People are still going to need places to store their heavy machinery when they're not in use. And if you buy the properties right, which is what we're trying to do,
Mhm.
you can then use the profits from the semi truck parking to turn it into RV and boat storage. So that's something else that we're looking at too, is like where I live also happens to be a place where we need RV and boat storage. So we're trying to find markets where it works for semi truck parking now, but also gives us the opportunity to pivot if we do need to switch to RV and boat storage or self storage.
That makes a lot of sense. And so thinking about like the ideal locations, I'm assuming it's like along a highway. I mean, you said 10 acres. When you said, I I was like almost flabbergasted with this size. I thought for sure it would be much smaller than that. So tell me a little bit more about, like, is this like along highways, but can't be, probably it's not like in the middle of LA because there's no 10 acres in the middle of LA, right? Or like
Yeah.
help me figure this out. Like, how
Well,
does,
okay, so the 10 acres is like ideal, right? That's
okay.
the ideal where like all the things work, all the profits work, all that good stuff. The numbers just work with the 10 acres. But we ideally you want to be no more than a mile off of a major highway or roadway, because so there is restrictions on how many hours a truck driver can drive truck. And once those hours are up, like you have to stop. So the ideal location for a truck stop is that close to the freeway so they can drive right up to the 8 hours and then pull into your lot to park and not go over, because they can face fines, they can lose their license. There's all kinds of penalties if they go over those hours. So ideally you do want to be within a mile of major freeways. That's part of our buy box actually, is within a mile of major freeways and highways. The 10 acres, different people have different philosophies on that. Like I'm also a licensed agent in California, and so I have a buyer that is looking for like 1 acre lots all up and down major freeways because he just wants a few trucks to be able to park there. So there's different philosophies on how to do it. We want to have bigger yards, so we're going to the 10 acres, and we also want to be able to potentially convert it to profitable RV and boat storage or self storage. So that's why the bigger acreage is kind of important.
That makes a ton of sense. And so your current competitors now, would they be like just DOT rest stops and like Loves or Flying J, or are there other competitors that I'm not even thinking about?
So there's not really like a national chain of truck stops. There is like the refueling stations like the Loves and the Flying J's and those sorts of places, but and then there is a new player and it's called like truckstopparking.com or something. I forget what it's called, but I see their ads on Instagram all the time. But what it is basically like an Airbnb for truck stops. So you never know what you're getting. And some of the lots might be really nice with amenities, and others are just like an unlevel dirt lot with no amenities at all. So I think there's room in the market for somebody like us to come in and say, well, here's like a nice clean alternative.
Yeah, that makes sense. And this is really random. I'm definitely not like a huge social media person, but on Instagram, apparently, I'm I don't know what this says about me, but the truck driver, like a truck driver showed up on my Instagram and I was like, oh, let's follow his journey. And so it was like him going to a stop and then be like, watch me take a shower. And I was like, what? And so he had to go into like a gas station and get a number assigned to a shower. And I was like,
Yeah.
I never thought about how truckers actually shower, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know why I would, but I was like, this is so interesting. And so now I'm getting all these trucking things showing up on my Instagram.
They're
So
listening
this is,
to us.
yeah, this is very timely. So I think that a lot of places do need further amenities because that place did not look that great. So I think this is super interesting. And then for the land that doesn't fit your buy box, are you guys wholesaling potentially then?
Yeah, so for land that doesn't fit our buy box, my husband and I do have that land development and wholesale companies. So we do have people like we have some people that we're looking for land that fourplexes can be built on, and they want to partner with us on that. So we're looking for that. We have like a buyer's list that we look for specific size properties for them. We have we have our communities. So that's the other kind of fallback too. We have creativelisting.com. So if we come up with land that we think is a really good deal, we can't find a buyer for it. That's something we could throw up on Creative Listing and advertise on there. I'm also a licensed agent in California. So if it's here in California, I will probably list it myself. So we have options basically.
Okay, yeah, you got your bases covered for sure. So I know we talked about like you being a counselor and how you're able to maybe give advice to these people that didn't have it before, and now like you being in real estate and you can do that same thing. So we're gonna ask you that right now. So so basically, let's take your current position and think of Becky like years before, but now you're talking to someone else in that same position. Not piece of advice, but what do you wish that you would have known when you first started that you now know?
There's actually two things that immediately pop into my mind. One thing is when you're first starting out in education, they really push the 403B investment vehicle onto us. And if I had known then what I would have known now, I would have said, no, thank you. I would like a self-directed IRA or self-directed 401k. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is like, don't doubt yourself just because you don't have experience in real estate or business investing. You can learn. You're in education. You're good at education. You can learn what you need to learn to be successful. And a lot of us have the people skills, especially being a counselor. Like I'm trained to listen. And so even though it's sometimes hard for me, I'm a talker. It's been very hard for me to like sit on my hands and listen sometimes, but I can do it. And I think that's so important when you're talking to potential buyers or potential sellers to really get to know them and what they want, what they need. I had a meeting today with a potential seller and I learned a lot, and that's going to help me because not only can I potentially make a deal that's going to get me what I need, but now I know what she needs. So I can try to make sure to structure the deal so that she's getting what she needs and it's a win-win situation. So don't doubt yourself. You have the people skills as an educator, if it's specifically an educator, to be able to go into this field too.
Yeah, otherwise you can't. Just kidding. You have to be an educator
You
to
can learn. You can
understand.
learn the people
Yeah,
skills.
yeah. And then can you actually just touch a little bit about what you meant about the 403B, maybe for people that
Sure.
aren't as savvy about these instruments and why you would prefer a solo 401k or self-directed IRA?
So the 403B, I didn't really know a lot about it. It was just like, this is only for educators. Only educators can sign up for this. It's a great retirement investment. And then as I learned more about it, it's more of almost like, if you don't tell them exactly what you want to invest it in right at the beginning, you're kind of invested in like money market accounts or like very general investments that don't earn a lot of return. And then when you go to try to like cancel out of it to get your money to put into a self-directed IRA, they're like, oh, you can't take your money out unless you have an activating event. And the activating events are somewhat difficult, like if separation from a job and just certain things. And things that I didn't qualify for. I was able to get my money out because they mistakenly reported me as having been terminated from my job when I was still employed. And I took advantage of it and got it out.
Does somebody know something you don't know?
Yeah. Like, are you sure you still work there? Yeah.
Yeah. So I had started working part-time for a different college while I was working at my full-time college. And someone at the 403B office saw that I was working at the other college. Basically, when I stopped working at that other college, they considered that like I didn't have a job anymore, even though I was still full-time employed at the other college. And so that was my loophole.
Oh my gosh. That's like, wasn't that in The Office or something where the guy thinks he's like
Yes.
so
Yes, that was.
Oh, that's great. Well, we're glad you're still employed. Oh my goodness. Well, being a college counselor, you
and working now, it sounds like you had two college roles at a certain point in time. There's a lot of structure in your day, but having your land development business, looking for these trucking parking areas, the other side quests we all have as real estate investors as well, requires a lot of self-starter and a lot of initiative on your own. And so what habits and routines have you developed to make sure you're staying productive and focused on those goals?
That is such a good question because I have ADHD, and for a long time it didn't affect me. And then as I've gotten older and into perimenopause, it started to come back. So I've had to get even like more structured. And so this is going to sound funny, but I was just talking to somebody else today about this. I have these like personas, today Becky and tomorrow Becky. And so I use that to motivate me, like, today, Becky, you have to do this because tomorrow Becky's going to be really happy that you did. So that's kind of like a trick that I've taught myself. And then I am really big on like to-do lists and Google Calendar. I do go through every Sunday night and schedule out my week. I do put my to-do tasks inside of my calendar rather than just on the regular to-do list in the Google Calendar task list, because then I'm getting reminders to do them. Unfortunately, when you have ADHD, you're not very internally motivated, which sucks because internal motivation is the most motivating motivation. So I have set up like a system of rewards externally where, oh, if you do this, then you get to do this. So like there's certain shows that I love, like Stranger Things. I love Stranger Things. Well, I set it up so that like you can only watch Stranger Things after you do this, or you can only watch Stranger Things if you're on the exercise bike. Like, so I do tricks like that as well to keep me going. And then I have accountability partners. So I meet weekly with an accountability group as well.
Oh, I love these things because we hear so many people talk about, a lot of the people that come on this are in Owners Club. And so a lot of people are talking about the calendar series and getting their calendar organized and things. But I really like your approach of like putting the tasks specifically in your calendar, and the today Becky and the tomorrow Becky. I'm going to start using that because I need some today, Andrea, to take some action sometimes. That's like the cutest thing ever. I love that.
and so, because here's the thing, I started researching ADHD because I was like, okay, it's not me taking care of it myself is not working anymore. And so that was one of the things, like people with ADHD really need to like visualize. So another thing that I've done too is like putting my face on the goals. So like my vision board is not just going to be a picture of the Ford Mustang that I want to buy myself, muscle car from 1973. If anyone's out there that has a Ford Mustang Mach 1 fastback in bright blue, I'm going to put myself in the driver's seat of that vehicle on my vision board now, right? Because those are the things that help people who might be slightly neurodivergent. We need to see ourselves. And I honestly, like, take the ADHD out of it. I think it helps anyone if you have that vision board and you can actually truly visualize yourself, put yourself in there. So if you want to earn a certain amount of money, like put yourself holding that amount of money on your vision board, because when you can actually see it, it tricks your brain into thinking that it's already happening, and it makes it easier to take the actions that you need to take.
Yeah, these vision boards come up, I think, almost on every single podcast, or at least every other one. So that makes a ton of sense, though, being able to visualize it. And I will say, like, I don't have ADHD and I struggle with internal motivation. So that's not unique to like you. So just know that other people have that struggle too. But
I joke with people all the time because there is this is probably a little off topic, but there was this study done, and I always joke that I'm a one marshmallow girl because they did this study with little kids and they gave them one marshmallow and they said, if you can just wait until I come back, you'll get 2 marshmallows. And they tracked the kids longitudinally, and the kids that could wait for the 2 marshmallows had like lower teen pregnancy rates, higher SAT scores, like all these great indicators. And I said, I am proof that you can be a 1 marshmallow kid and still be successful.
There you go. There you go. You didn't do that test though, did you?
I did not do that test, but I am the kid that had to touch the oven twice before I realized it was hot and it was going to burn me.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, man. Okay, good. So I already asked you a question before about like, what do you wish, or what did you know? I can't talk. help me.
It's all good.
I ask so many questions. They sound so similar because I'm always asking for advice. So I had asked before, right? Like, what do you know now that you wish you would have known at the beginning? And now I'm going to ask another similar question of, so if you are someone that's newly beginning your financial journey, which, as you described, maybe there's misinformation about like the retirement accounts or how do you make passive income? What information or advice would you give someone in 30 seconds that's new to all of this on their financial journey?
Number one, do a financial audit of where you are at right now. You'd be surprised at like surprise subscriptions that you might have that you don't even realize that you have. You might be surprised to find that you have savings bonds in a safe deposit box someplace, like really getting a handle on your personal finances and making a plan for that. I also am a little bit more conservative. So I would definitely say if you can have like a 3 to 6 month supply of to pay your bills in the bank, those are huge things that I think will really help you get started. Paying off credit card debt as much as you can. That's like really key to me because then that's going to open up when you do start actually doing the investing. It's going to give you a lot more options because again, this was something I didn't do. And so it kind of limits your options when you have all those other things going on versus my template is clear and I'm ready to go forward. So starting with your own personal house, getting it in order, and then exploring what are the different asset classes that you might be interested in? What are asset classes? Because what I started thinking I was going to do and then what I'm doing today is two completely different things.
Yeah, I think that's great advice because there are so many different asset classes. And to your point, like you may think that you want one thing and you end up in something completely different, which I think a lot of people, we talk about this a lot, like start with single family or like maybe you'll go straight to an STR and then you're like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. Like what else is out there? Right.
Yeah.
So to your point, that's great advice. And then where did you like start looking to even find any of this information?
So I'm a big researcher and we were listening to a podcast on real estate because I was like, let's just start listening to podcasts. And these guys were literally called the Real Estate Guys. And they were talking about Ken McElroy. And Ken McElroy wrote 3 books, like a 1, 2, and 3 on real estate investing. So that was my first introduction. I read all 3 of his books like right at the beginning of COVID. And then we started listening to more podcasts. We found Bigger Pockets. And then through Bigger Pockets, we found Pace and Jamil. And I went to a lot of different real estate communities to try to get in the know more, to make more relationships, to hopefully like have deals brought to me, or maybe I can contribute to a deal. But really the community that made me feel the best, that was Pace and Jamil's community because it's so diverse. It's so people are doing anything you can think of, not just in real estate, but in investing, like someone is doing it in that community. And it's very inclusive and very supportive. And I feel like most of us in that community are the compassionate capitalists that want to help people. And so that's, I really feel like I found my home there and kind of have blossomed in that community.
Yeah, I completely agree. The only downside of everyone doing everything is all the shiny objects that are
Totally.
which does not help the ADHD, right?
No.
So I'm like, oh, they're doing that. That sounds fun. Oh, how about this over here? Like, oh my gosh, there's just so many things, which can be a downside because there are so many ways to make money in real estate that if you try all of them at once, you will not be successful. So I like how you kind of narrowed down that focus even in that broad community.
Yeah, I really like at the beginning of this year, I realized I was kind of all over the place and I was like, I just have to dial it in. And so I can see it right there because it's on my wall in my office. And I made like a primary, secondary, tertiary and went through and was like, what are the things that I'm good at, that I enjoy and that I want to continue doing? And so like semi-truck parking, YouTube, LinkedIn, podcast, those are like my top 4 in my primary. And then secondary, my husband has the primary responsibility for our land business. So that's on my secondary tier because he takes the primary role in that. And then any sort of like education that I do for other people / consulting. And then my agent work, because sometimes I do have listings or do purchases as well. So those are kind of like all I'm focusing on this year.
That's awesome. And you
although like, then an airport community dropped in my lap. So I am focusing on that too.
Is that with like Michael and them, or is that
no? So they actually gave me like a lot of advice on it.
Okay.
I've always wanted to have a glamping resort that is themed to Hallmark Christmas movies.
I love this.
And so I've been looking for property in a specific county in California forever. And I went and I looked at this property like a year ago for the glamping resort. Wasn't going to work for the glamping resort because it was a little bit too much, but there was a landing strip on it. So fast forward a year and I'm still in talks. I actually just had a meeting with the owner of this property this morning. And so we're putting together like basically what I'm doing. Instead of giving her a formal offer, we talked about a lot of different ways we could structure the deal, including one option where she may stay on as a small partner in the deal. So I'm going to be putting together basically an LOI that's not an LOI, where we give her like, these are the options that we could do to buy the property. So I'm hoping we'll be able to put in an offer, by the end of this week on that.
Yay, that's super exciting. My husband just got his private pilot's license last week. So like those things are very cool.
Yeah, and we will not be far away from you. We'll probably be like an hour's flight from Reno, Tahoe.
Oh my goodness. Well, we will definitely have to check that out. We went to George this past weekend and it was like super fun. That's way closer. So you would probably really like that. That's so cool. And speaking of travel, Liz and I both have goals to travel, get outside, explore the outdoors in the process of building wealth, not to just like save that fun for later, but like have fun along the way. So just curious if you have any upcoming bucket list travel in the next couple of years that you're looking forward to.
Well, I am behind because I had set a goal to visit all 50 states by the time I was 50, and I'm 13 short. So I'm hoping to continue doing the rest of those 13 states. And then I love Hawaii. It makes me so happy. And my husband just booked our Airbnb for December of this year into the new year. So even though I've been to Hawaii before, I still consider it bucket travel on my list because I love to snorkel. I love being in the ocean. And then down the road, like the rest of the places on my list are like Japan and Australia. I'm all for traveling as much as you can all the time. I'm in complete agreement with you. I have envy of your Instagram because I'm like, that's where I want to go.
Andrea's out of control, but you should definitely link up with her if you need any recommendations.
Oh, when I do my African safari, I will be hitting you up for all the advice.
Oh, Andrea. Yeah, no. And I mean, if you need any advice, like she's your own personal assistant and travel advisor. So yeah. Alrighty. So let's talk a little bit more about like, what do you need? Are you looking for money on any deals? Are you looking for people to help you find land to wholesale, or like, what are you looking for exactly?
I think right now we're looking, if we, talk like real and go off of my primary, secondary, tertiary list, we really are looking for deals for the potential semi-truck parking locations. And we're looking for, if it's a truck stop that's already in existence, we're going to look at that. If it's a truck stop that could be built, we're going to look at that too. So we're interested in both pre-existing and potential as well. I think with the land, we're looking to see if people have specific types of land that they want to buy or in specific areas. We're also looking, if this airport community goes through, we'll be looking for private money lenders for sure, potentially private money partners, depending on what we work out with the seller. So those are some things that I need right now.
Okay, perfect. That's good. I'd be interested in hearing more about this too. So on that note, how or what is the best way that someone can get in contact with you if they're interested in collaborating or following your journey?
Well, on Instagram, I'm Becky Plaza Peace. And on YouTube, I'm also Becky Plaza Peace. So either one of those. And then you can also email me, beckyplazapeace@outlook.com if you're sensing a trend. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on this week From Corporate to Cash Flow. We've learned so much. Also, you're just so fun and like an absolute joy. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, it's been so fun.
You guys are my first official podcast, so thank you so much.
Yay. Oh, I'm so glad. And I feel like we've gotten to connect quite a bit with Owners Club. And so I'm just so glad that other people are getting to hear your story too, because like I said, you're a really fun person and very genuine. And so it's really nice to have great guests on our podcast. So thank you for doing that with us. And thank you everyone else for listening to this week's episode of From Corporate to Cash Flow. We will catch you next week.
Hey, it's Andrea. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you liked it, I'd love it if you hit subscribe. Thanks so much.